What is up, Trader Gang? Everybody by now probably knows that I really enjoy annual reviews. I really love goal setting, and I've spent probably, I don't know, many years reviewing the goals and action plans of my trainees and various traders at Trillium, SMB, one-on-one mentorship, and all that other crap. So for fun, we are going to take a whack at David Hanlin, the laptop legend. God, that's kind of a silly name, David. But hey, to each their own. Self-proclaimed laptop legend. But no, I met David, and he's a great guy. And so what I'm going to do is kind of just go through these and share my thoughts and contextualize them as I like to do. Maybe provide him some insights, but most of all, provide you all a framework for how I go about doing this. Last week, ahead of the new year, I posted a kind of explanation of what I look for in annual goals. So one thing is, before he does all of this, and I'm sure David's pretty damn experienced. He put up a couple million in 2024, which is very respectable. I don't know quite how long he's been trading, so maybe David can answer that for me. But so I really assume at his level, he's gone through all of his trading data from the year, that he tracks his trades, he reviews his trades. As I said in my prior video, at the minimum, you want to be dissecting where is your P&L coming from across your different playbooks. You want to, in detail, write up your top 25 trades, your bottom 25 trades. So I assume he has done that analysis. So let's start to go through this, and I'll provide my thoughts. So top 10% of days, and essentially 24 out of 239 of his trading days, accounted for 84% of his annual profits. That might sound crazy, but that is actually extremely normal for an advanced trader. And as you go from beginner to elite, that skew should become more and more exaggerated. Essentially, you have the cushion, the P&L, the experience, so that when you get a pocket pair or aces, you bet exponentially bigger. That's part of the exponential bet sizing I always kind of get on my soapbox about. So this is normal. Now, the context I want to provide is that if you are a beginner, if you've been trading 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you should not expect that same skew. That definitely is developed over time. So his worst day is 30 grand. So again, I believe he put up, I think he just eked out about 2 million in P&L. So having a lowest day of 28K is extremely commendable. That means he likely has very good risk management systems in place, very good rules, generally is not averaging down, rotting, and usually is probably having a stop, because otherwise you get steamrolled somewhere. So that is a very strong indicator of solid trading. Let's see. Yep, and most of all, and yeah, these statistics here kind of confirms that he definitely was not taking large losses in places. So to get that type of skew, that takes a lot of experience, and speaks that will not be normal for lesser traders as you build that experience. And so now this was something I wanted to contextualize. This number makes me realize that it truly is not worth sacrificing my health to stress all day over plus or minus 5K to 10K days. I understand the sentiment, but I think this tends to get wrongly interpreted by many people often. If you are a beginner or developing trader, you absolutely do still want to be trading all these days. And he's making his goal to get off of the desk by 11 a.m. if it's a slower day for him. What I would say is, if you're a developing trader, you absolutely want to be on the desk as much as possible and not lose those reps. It's so often to get reps. It's so often to be there in case some big breaking news happens, or in case a setup develops that otherwise you would not have seen. And depending on your playbook, I don't know David's playbooks well enough, but for many traders like myself, like I used to do a lot of breaking news, I used to do a lot of catalyst trading. That stuff can happen at any time. So the idea of getting off the desk after 11, it might be the right idea for him. I don't think that's the right idea for many people. So it's important though. David's an advanced trader. Like he has enough experience and data and growth to make the right decision for him. But if you are not in that category, you need to be careful of wrongly interpreting that. The other thing too is, by the nature of fat tail events being so much P&L, like if something crazy happens, some big headline, or some stock just happens to have news and has an amazing setup, trading is really revolved around the tails. And if you happen to miss some of that because you're off the desk or you're not watching or you're at the gym, that can actually end up costing you a lot of P&L. You get away with it most days, but then some days you're just like, oh man, that was not great. So then David went on to set some P&L goals. So when he says average 10K a day, of course, by the nature of how skewed we've seen his trading, that doesn't mean David is going to be making 10K every day, of course, right? That means he's going to probably be washing out on a lot of days, having a lot of smaller losers, but his trading's still going to be skewed. And so he wants to have a $2.5 million year. I love the reach. Stretch goal of having a $1 million day / trade. So I would say at that level of P&L, that seems a little bit excessive to me. Like I don't think at that P&L level that's quite reasonable. But hey, if some epic setup is there, like the SMC options trade we saw earlier in the year with that exhaustion gap, absolutely. Like I love when people have stretch goals because it helps you visualize it, it helps you push for it. So look, I don't want to take him down for that, but it's good to have the goals. The other thing that I think is more important is generally you need to be very careful with a P&L goal. It is great to push yourself and stretch, but 2024 was an incredible market. Again, I would argue that this year was the second best market I have seen in probably close to 15 years, right? Only behind 2020. And we might not get a great market in 2025. I'm cautiously optimistic it's at least decent given what we're finishing the year at and starting the year with. But what I've seen is traders kind of psychologically and emotionally attach themselves to that number and that goal. And this can lead to them pushing size when these settings aren't there or trying to make something happen out of nothing. And so it's okay to have a P&L goal. It's okay to push yourself. And I like that visualization, but you don't want to be overly attached to it. There is a very fine line where these P&L goals go from being an adaptive habit to a maladaptive habit that can negatively affect your trading. So risk more in general on great setups without fat tail risk. So this is all great. And yeah, it's so funny. Continue to pass on free money setups with tiny chance of black swan losses. I would assume, of course, these aren't free money setups, but I would assume he's kind of referring to some of those lower flow Chinese crazy gappers that we saw and stuff like that. And what I would love to see, and I don't know if he does more beyond this, I would love to see him break down how he's going to push this risk a little bit more specifically. What are these great setups? If we're at 10 to 20K in general, what is our process to go from 10 to 20 to 50 to 100? That is a very big jump. I generally push for prudence and gradual steps. So I would want to see him figure out how to break that down gradually. Of course, David is more experienced than most. So again, he's fully capable of figuring that stuff out. I always tend to just drill, and make it as systemized as possible. Again, we kind of discussed the thought of walking away, but one point I will touch on is I do think, especially as you get older, not that David is old at all, he's quite young. As you start to accumulate some money, though, and some level of success, you do need to make these trade-offs between work-life balance and health and life versus the incremental dollar. So I do like that he's doing these reflections and doing what's right for him. Again, I'm just simply making the point that should not be what's right for everyone. And of course, I am not a great role model for anyone as I do not trade actively day to day at all. So do daily report card. So David even asked me some questions about this, really astute questions. And what I said is mostly for him to tailor a daily report card for what's most appropriate for him. If you want to make the daily report card right for you and something that you can stick with sustainably, and that's what makes it great. Some other things I would add on the work sense, and again, I don't know these answers, but was David full access on different products? Like, has he incorporated options into his trading? Has he incorporated futures? Futures are great for stuff like the election, for stuff like Bitcoin. I also wonder whether he has looked into overnight access to trading if necessary, what he thinks about some of that stuff. Then also, are there any technological improvements to improve his trading? Can he make his executions cleaner? Can he make or automate part of his scanning process more? Can he make his life easier day to day? A lot of those improvements are one-time effort, but then you reap the reward of them for a long time. So I really tend to love them. Then I also wonder, is there anything playbook-wise he would like to expand into, or at least start to document and learn about? That's always worth thinking. So those are some areas I would kind of push him to think on. So health and fitness. And so here's the other thing is I love that he's putting the goals aren't just one-dimensional work-related. I personally tend to do goals for all areas of my life. And I think it's also important to recognize that health and fitness, relationships, and personal growth are all holistic to who we are as a trader and as a person. And health is so important. We cannot trade at our best when we do not have it. I know David has struggled with a couple health issues quite a bit. And that can be frustrating. And that's really impacted his quality of life and his trading. So I love seeing him really focus on this. I do know that, he is a beast sleeper. He does have an Aura ring, which I am a huge proponent of. And so I think it's important to if you're not doing any reflection on this stuff, you should be. I would also push him, if he's not doing it, to even consider some weightlifting or even some sport and activities with friends, whether it's hiking, pickleball, golf, volleyball, whatever. But then, of course, he does need to put that priority on health and less so on trading too. Some of that about stepping off the desk. I think that's important to focus on that balance. Relationships, these are all fantastic. I think most people are not intentional with their time. One thing that I do love, and I push them on, is being more present on trips with family and friends. It's so important. Those are always some of the best memories of my own life, just going on trips with friends and everything else. And at the end of the day, over the long run, if you're a successful trader, the markets will always be there. P&L will always be there. I really urge people to enjoy themselves, vacation, and to try their best to turn off when they're off the desk. And then when they're on the desk, go really hard. As James Clear once said, his dad gave him the advice, when you're on the field, play as if nothing else matters. When you're off the field, remember that it doesn't matter at all. Personal growth, reading books, trying to always learn and develop as a person, whether it's exploring our own psychology or trying new hobbies. One goal, and I might do a video on my personal goals at some point. I don't know. We'll see. But I always try and do a couple sabbaticals each year to just learn new crafts, whether it's doing a nature photography workshop or learning golf or surfing or a meditation retreat. I try and do things where I interact with people, most importantly, that are not traders. I like to step away from the trading world occasionally and learn new skills and just see a different world. One thing I would also push for David, given the level of success he has, and it's not even about monetary. I would argue everyone has the ability to give back. My question to David is look, man, you are in a fortunate, grateful place. How can you give back even more and help others? I know David is always attending Traders for a Cause when he can. So it's good to see him mentoring and sharing what he does online. So I hope this was useful to David. I hope this was useful to you all. And let's see some really good annual goals being posted. I love getting inspiration from what other people are trying to achieve. And then let's set, most of all, not just the goal, but the processes in place to reach these goals. So the final thing I would push David for is to put in his calendar certain check-ins. Because writing goals, then it not leading to action does nothing. So how can we check in on this maybe every couple weeks or every month? How can we also review these goals with our pod for inspiration and feedback? And so those are some best practices that also help us elevate this. Nevertheless, I just want to make this quick video. So hope you all enjoyed, and thank you, David, for being the guinea pig that I could, put in front of the class. Appreciate it, brother.